Welcome back to another classic Doctor Who tier ranking. So today we are going to rank season 14 of Doctor Who from 1976 to 1977. First up is The Mask of Mandragora, or Mandragora. I never remember which way you're supposed to pronounce it. This serial got a 4 in rating, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good serial, a nice opener to the season as well. I don't remember any of it from before, and I barely remember it now, actually, thinking about it. I made some notes, so I've got notes on it, but I don't actually remember much now at all. The only thing I remember is the BBC period drama costume department, once again on top form. When it got to the mask part of the episode, I think it was probably the final part of it. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. The costumes, especially the one that Sarah Jane wears, is so beautiful. If this was done in New Who or in just any modern period drama, the costume would not be that perfect. It would be horrifically modernised and probably over-sexualised as well. But this one, cannot fault it. Beautiful costume that Sarah wears. So yeah, cannot fault it. Absolutely love it. I cannot remember if the new control room debuts in this episode or in the next one, but I love this one. I'll just say it here. The TARDIS control room in this season, the best one, my favourite. The wooden look is just, oh, I don't know, something about it is just gorgeous and I love it, and I think it really works. I love it. I get that the white control room, it screams sci-fi, but as you may have guessed, I'm stuck on historical stuff, so I love the wooden look control room. Love it, it's beautiful. Also, the outfit Sarah Jane wears in this one, it's my favourite one. My favourite of all Sarah Jane's outfits is worn in this episode. That's enough about costumes and TARDIS aesthetics. Let's get into the actual episode. There was some martial arts used in this episode, which has to be the first time martial arts has been used in Classic Who where I didn't want to laugh. That actually did look okay, so I've got to hand it to that. The Mask of Mandragora / Mandragora has the first use of any kind of fight scene, to be honest, where I didn't find it laughable, so that's good. There was a moment when Sarah Jane asks the Doctor how she can understand Latin when she doesn't know Latin, and I thought, oh, we're gonna get the explanation for the TARDIS's translation circuits in this episode. No, we got an I'll explain later. Yeah, classic Who. This serial has something quite funny. This serial introduces the idea that the Fourth Doctor steals people's horses with the same ferocity that the Third Doctor steals people's sandwiches. I don't think he ever does it ever again in any other serial. I don't think I've seen the Doctor on a horse again, actually, until the 10th Doctor on Arthur. But yeah, the Doctor likes to steal horses now. He's fed up with stealing people's sandwiches, now he's going to steal people's horses. As for the actual story of the episode, I don't remember it. So it's a bit hard for me to do anything with this one because I did give it a couple of 5s for parts 3 and 4, and overall it got a 4, but I don't remember it. So, I mean, I can't really put it into Doctor Who when it's had a reasonably high score. I don't know what to do. This is actually quite a hard one. I mean, realistically it should go into Doctor Who, but I think because I know that I enjoyed it for more than just the costumes, I think I'm going to put it into Upgrade in Progress because I know that I enjoyed it, and if I remembered the story, it would probably go into Fantastic. But all I remember about it is the sort of politics between the Duke and his uncle, and something happened. I didn't even watch this that long ago. I'm watching too much Classic Who, that's what it is. I'm watching too much too quickly and it's just not staying in. Yeah, I'm going to put it into Upgrade in Progress. If I remember the story, it'll probably go into Fantastic, but I don't, so I can't put it any higher than Upgrade in Progress. And the MVP for the serial is Giuliano. Next up is The Hand of Fear. This one also got a 4, and I do remember what happened in this one. This is Sarah Jane's last appearance in the classic series, and I really do like this one. I thought this was a good serial the first time I watched it, and I enjoyed it again the second time round. The mystery is intriguing, and I like the way it builds up throughout each episode as well. So it's not just one mystery. You've got the mystery of the hand, and then you've got the mystery of Eldrad, and then you've got another mystery of what happened on Eldrad's planet, and sort of all of that. It just sort of builds up as it goes along in a way that probably most of the serials do, but to me it's a bit more obvious here, and I did quite enjoy it. My issue though is that Sarah Jane, this is the second time in a row that she's been hypnotised, It's her final season. She's only got 2 serials and she gets hypnotised in both of them. So I'm a bit, you know. Also, we have, I just feel like it's worth mentioning, we have the appearance of the classic Doctor Who quarry in this serial. Is it even Doctor Who? There's not a quarry somewhere in the episode. The villain Eldrad, I love their female form. I think the whole look was just stunning. I really think it worked really well. The costume and the makeup, the whole shebang just really worked well. I loved Eldrad's female form. Eldrad's male form, however, looked like a sparkly Zygon. He looked like a Zygon costume that someone had just thrown glitter onto. That one could have done with some work, but the female form looked good. Although Eldrad has some truth-seeking eyes, and they were awful. Considering the red eyes used in the Planet of Evil in the last season, which I said was a really good effect, I don't understand how they've got so bad in this particular serial. It just looked awful. The makeup and costume looked great, not so much the effects on the eyes. Last thing to say is that, as I said before, it is Sarah Jane's last serial, and I did like her exit. I thought it was quite a good way for her to leave the TARDIS. She had a mini tantrum and was saying, I'm going to leave, and she went and packed up her things, came back with all of her suitcases, expecting the Doctor to say, no, I'm sorry, you stay. And instead he goes, yeah, you gotta fuck off because I need to go home. And obviously she doesn't know that he's had a message from Gallifrey in the meantime, and he can't take non-Gallifreyans back to Gallifrey because, you know, Time Lords are hypocrites. But yeah, so she had to leave anyway, and I think that was done really well in the scene. And then obviously he dumps her in the wrong place because the Doctor can't fly the TARDIS correctly, ever. And I am glad that in New Who, I know I keep sort of referencing New Who in this, but there's a lot of references to make. But in New Who in School Reunion, I'm really glad that that was actually mentioned when Sarah Jane met the 10th Doctor, because I feel like I would be holding on to that for a while as well if I were her. So I'm glad that was brought up and mentioned in that episode. One thing though is that it's really hard to believe now, what with New Who and the Sarah Jane adventures and all of that the original plan was to kill off Sarah Jane. Either in this serial or if she was staying on for the end of the season, I'm not sure. But the original plan was to kill her off. That's a really wild thing to think of now, considering how popular Sarah Jane was at the time, still is now, and is also popular with younger New Who fans. I say younger, I grew up with New Who. I was there when she came back. Yeah, it's just weird to think that she was originally going to be killed off. But this serial, as for where it's going in the tier list, I'm thinking, I don't know. So I want to put it in Fantastic, but something's holding me back. So I might just put it in Upgrade in Progress again. I've put the Hand of Fear into Upgrade in Progress because I don't know why, I just didn't want to put it in Fantastic. Something wasn't letting me go there, so it's an Upgrade in Progress. And the MVP for the serial is the Unnamed Intern. He's literally called Unnamed Intern. I searched the wikis and everything. I can't find a name for this guy. He's a doctor who treats Sarah Jane. After she gets buried by rubble in the quarry, he treats Sarah Jane after that. He is the MVP. Next up is The Deadly Assassin. So this serial is quite intriguing for several reasons. First off, it's the first and I think only story in Doctor Who history to not have any companion whatsoever. I mean, you could say Heaven Sent as well, but Clara does turn up in points in the episode in the Doctor's Mind Palace, so I can't really count that one. This one, the Doctor has no companion whatsoever. I think this is the only one in Doctor Who history that has no companion at all. This is also the first story entirely set on Gallifrey. This is the first mention of Rassilon, who, as we know, will become a bit more important in future episodes and future seasons. And this is also the episode that introduced the 12 regeneration limit to Time Lords. So there's a few things about this episode which make it a little bit more intriguing. The thing that intrigued me was the Star Wars beginning of the episode. It opens up with words floating and the Doctor's voice reading them out. So it felt kind of Star Wars-y at the beginning, not gonna lie. So, as I said, this series is entirely set on Gallifrey. I love that. I really love seeing Gallifrey, seeing more of Time Lord society, seeing where the Doctor comes from and the world that he chose to leave. It is our first time being back on Gallifrey since the end of the War Games, and it's a vast difference. We only saw the 3 Time Lords in that serial, the Tribunal, whereas now we've got loads of Time Lords from different chapters of the Academy in different jobs. We see a newsreader Time Lord. Like, there's a lot in there, which I love. So Robert Holmes, the writer for the episode, didn't like the idea of Time Lords being these crazy omnipotent beings, man after my own heart. And so he reimagined them as sort of corrupt bureaucrats. He asked the same question that I've asked throughout my time of watching Doctor Who. How can a society which is so perfect produce so many renegades and criminals? As I say, it's something I've questioned myself many a time. Also, the Bredonian chapter of Time Lords, which is where the Doctor and the Master comes from, and a lot of the Doctor's friends as well. According to this serial, they produce the most presidents out of any other chapter of the Time Lord Academy. And yet, the Bredonian chapter is full of rascals. Explain that one to me. One thing I find kind of annoying though is in the writing. There's not a single woman in the whole episode. Not a single Time Lord in this episode is a woman. The only female voice we hear is the computer, and that doesn't count. There's no female characters at all in this whole serial, which is corrected in a later serial in the next season, but yeah, there's no women in this whole episode, which I'm like, why? Unlike with some other Doctor Who serials, there are so many people in this serial. There's points where there's loads of people on the screen. They're all men. Every single one of them's a man. There was a point in time, I know, when the female form on Gallifrey was out of fashion. So everyone sort of regenerated into men and just sort of lived like that for however long. But I thought that was before the Doctor's time, not afterwards. So it could be that this is set during that time. It could be not. I don't really know. But that's the only explanation I can find for there being absolutely no women on Gallifrey in this serial. So into the story itself, when the Doctor gets there, he obviously has his police box TARDIS. Everyone surely knows that his TARDIS is stuck as a police box. And when he gets there, the Time Lords don't really react very much at all. And I was fully expecting an, oh fuck, he's home kind of reaction. But no, they don't react at all, which bit disappointing, not gonna lie. There's a moment in the serial where someone reads out a letter written in Gallifreyan, and it's not the round circular Gallifreyan that we see a lot nowadays. It's written Gallifreyan, and there's a couple of times that we've seen written Gallifreyan, and I want to know more about this language. I want to know who devised the language in our universe, in reality, who devised this language and how they designed it, whether it is actually a coded language that's actually readable in some way, or whether it's just random squiggles on a page. I want to know if there's an in-universe reason why someone might use the non-circular Gallifreyan or the circular Gallifreyan. I want to know all of that, please and thank you. I just love the whole Gallifreyan culture in the show. I want to know more. When there's something like this, I want to know more about it. I want to know more about their politics and their society and why things are the way they are and what's different. It's like an alternate world. I want to know what the turning point was, you know? And I just love, in the episode, they have a big event at the start, which is what the Doctor sort of steals some robes and attends. And, oh, can we just talk about those robes? Beautiful colours. The 3 different chapters in the serial have different coloured robes and they are all gorgeous. I think I'd be a Patraxes myself because they've got the green robes and, you know, you guys got to have some green on. But this serial itself adds so much to the lore of the Doctor and the show in general. And I just love it. I love it. I want more. I want more lore. Okay, so 2 more things. First, the Doctor goes into the Matrix at one point in this episode, and there's a moment when he sort of pushes some sand away and it's a mirror, and there's a creepy ass clown standing in the mirror laughing. I still don't understand that part at all, and it freaks me out. I don't have a fear of clowns, but I can understand why other people might. And that clown is just weird. Why does he just pop up out of nowhere, laugh, and then fuck off again? That has nothing to do with the story. It doesn't happen. Nothing. He doesn't appear before that, he doesn't appear after that, he just laughs and fucks off, and I don't know why. Final things to say on this one is that obviously you knew it was coming, you had to know it was coming. This serial brings back my favourite character in Doctor Who history, the Master. Now, he's not exactly in fine form in this episode, he's looking a little bit crispy, let's be real. He's technically called the Decayed Master, but all of us in the fandom call him the Crispy Master, so who am I to disagree with that? And he does look quite crispy, I can't deny it, he does. He looks a bit more moist than I remember though. I did look up and it's different between this one and the next time the Crispy Master appears in the Tremas episode, which is in 2-3 seasons time. So he's much more crispier in that one, whereas in this one he's a bit more moist. And apparently they were going to go a bit more with it. They were going to be pumping some blood or something around him to make it look like the skin's just removed or something, which I think would have freaked the kids out. Not gonna lie to you, I think that would have freaked out the kids a little bit too much. But yeah, I did think the Christmas Master looked terrifyingly brilliant. I mean, he didn't look good in the sense that I would put that on TV in something nowadays. It's the funky eyes that I love. Oh, bless him. But yeah, so that's the Deadly Assassin, and I should probably rank this one now because I've gone on a little bit again. I think just for, yes, the story's good, but just for the lore alone, I'm going to put it into Fantastic. You can fight me on it. I love the additions to the lore of Gallifrey and the Doctor, and I am putting it into Fantastic. And the MVP is Cassidy Spandrel. Next up is The Face of Evil. So this episode got a 5. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun story, fun adventure, and a really interesting timey-wimey adventure at that. Also, it introduced another of my favourite characters in the Whoniverse, Leela. I love Leela. She's brilliant. Absolutely wonderful. Love Leela. Top-notch, no notes. Great character. The first thing in my notes is Leela. So yeah, you can tell I love Leela. One thing about Leela though is that I've seen criticisms of her inclusion in the show as the Doctor taming and teaching a savage and making them more civilized and stuff like that. And whilst I completely understand what the video essay I watched was saying, I disagree. I have to disagree. From the very off in this serial, you see Leela, before the Doctor even gets to her planet, you see Leela questioning authority and demanding better answers and saying this isn't right. She's already that character. She's already doing that. She just doesn't know science. That's it. All she has in her life is religion, because that's all they have, the religion of Zoanna, and that's all they have in her tribe. They don't have science. They have loads of technology that they don't know how to use because they've never used it. It's not their technology, they just inherited it, and for some reason none of their ancestors taught them how to use it. It's a bit weird, but yeah, her first lines are about how their holy mission isn't real, and she's questioning everything that they're taught and everything that she does know. She's questioning it. And as I say, that's before the Doctor even shows up. So I do have to say I disagree with the idea of the Doctor teaching and taming Leela. She's already a character who questions what she's told and questions what she believes in. She's already that character. Also with Leela, I love the fact that when she meets the Doctor, she's currently being hunted effectively by her own tribe, and she meets the Doctor, and she could have just legged it and used him as a distraction and gone to safety, but she didn't. She doubled back and went back to help him because she knew that he was going to be in trouble if she didn't. Yeah, she's a good character. She's all round a brilliant character. She's not just tough and fierce, she's also empathetic and kind, and I don't think enough people see that with Leela. I loved watching the Doctor puzzle out the mystery of the episode with Zoanna and the evil one and all of this, trying to figure out what's happened, what's gone on. And also there's a moment when Leela does something, she does some arm movements and the Doctor recognises it as being a bit odd. And then later on, some other people do it as well, and he suddenly recognises it as safety precautions on the spacesuits that their ancestors would have worn. And that's him, again, just puzzling it out and realising what's happened and who these people are. I just love little bits like that throughout the serial that sort of show the Doctor working it out. And there's a character called Caleb who tries to do a political takeover. The Doctor is watching this with Leela and he's just sort of like scoring it like a tennis match, which I absolutely loved that scene. I thought it was hilarious. Again, it's just the Doctor being a bit of a dick. But it's fun. It was a fun way of doing it. I have to mention Chekhov's Janus Thorn. The Janus Thorn was mentioned early in the episodes, and it's Chekhov's Janus Thorn. It came back. And actually it came back a few times in Leela's tenure as well. It wasn't just in this serial, she brought it back a few times, which I thought was quite interesting. But yeah, I call it Chekhov's Janus Thorn because as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's going to reappear. And then we come to later on in the episode, and I have to ask, do the Tesh all have jaundice? Because they've all got green-yellow skin, and these are all supposed to be humans. The Tesh and the Sever team are all humans descended from the same main team. So do the Tesh all have jaundice or something? Why are they all yellow? They're proper greeny yellow skin, like alien colour yellow. It's not a human skin tone. Like, I don't understand why they look like that. And also they all have fancy clothes. The Sever team makes sense in their scraps that they wear because there's only so much fabric you'd have on one spaceship. The Tesh and the Sever team, the survey team and the technicians, they had descendants, sure, and there's only so many items of clothing they have between them, so it makes sense the Sever team would wear more scraps and skins and stuff. The Tesh, why have they all got these fancy uniforms? Where did they get the fabric from? That's what I want to know. I have questions about the Tesh. And finally, just to circle back to Leela, I just love the way she legs it into the TARDIS at the end. The Doctor's like, no, you've got to stay here. That's it. And she just goes, fuck that. She pushes the Doctor and runs into the TARDIS and starts pressing buttons, I guess, because he says don't press that, and then the TARDIS dematerialises. I love Leela. Absolute queen. Love her to bits. So The Face of Evil got a 5. I did enjoy this serial. I enjoyed it more on my rewatch than I did on my first watch as well. I loved Leela from the off both times, but I did enjoy the story and the serial more this time round. So I'm thinking I'm going to put it into Fantastic. Yeah, I'm going to put it into Fantastic. I think that's a decent place for it. And the MVP for the serial is Thomas. Next up is Robots of Death. This serial also got a 5, and again, it was better on my rewatch than my first watch. I can't remember liking it all that much on my first watch. Not disliking it, but just sort of being a bit, it's okay. This time around, I really enjoyed it. One thing I do remember from this serial, but I didn't remember it came from this one, is the Doctor's explanation is in this one about how the TARDIS works, how it's bigger on the inside. And he explains it to Leela with these 2 boxes where one's bigger than the other. And he says, right, which one's bigger? And she goes, well, that one. And he goes, okay, brilliant. And he puts the bigger one down, walks closer to Leela, puts the little one in front of her face and says, now which one's bigger? And she says, well, still that one. And he goes, yeah, but it looks smaller. And she goes, well, that's because it's farther away. He's saying, well, yeah, but if you could keep it that distance, but also put it in here, then it would fit inside. It's like, it's such a weird explanation, but I love it. I just think that's a great way of trying to explain, especially to the kids at home who would watch this back in the 70s, how the TARDIS works with the big on the inside thing. So I think that's a really good thing to have in the serial, and I really enjoyed that bit. And can I just say once again how beautiful that console room is? Just absolutely beautiful. I have to say the makeup on the people in this one is an interesting choice because they're sort of like lines in their faces, and I don't know whether they're supposed to be markings that are naturally on their faces or whether it's actually makeup the people choose to wear, because having to reapply that every day, you need to have a steady hand to make those lines all the time, and it's not an easy look to achieve on oneself. I don't know, I just wonder if it was in New Who whether they would have used prosthetics to make it look like it was naturally part of their faces, because it looked like it was meant to be makeup, and I'm just confused as to why they would do that all the time. It's little things like that that take me out of the moment and go, wait, why is this? One thing I liked is that this adventure is very tech-based. It's all about robots killing people. It's Leela's first off-world adventure. As I said before about the last serial, she doesn't know technology, and this one is very tech-based. So I like the fact that her first off-world adventure is tech-based, and she just gets on with it. She just picks things up as she goes along, understands what she can, ignores what she can't, and just gets on with it. She may not know much about technical stuff, but she's just brilliant, and she'll just go along with it and work things out as she can. Especially when the Doctor isn't there. It's happened when the Doctor wasn't even there and she's just working things out. It shows how smart Leela actually is as a character. And also this serial shows her heightened instincts as well, which appear all the way through her run. It's a great trait that Leela has that none of the other companions do, because it's such a Leela trait, and I just love it. One thing though is that someone talks about robophobia, and Leela asked the Doctor what it was, and he said it's an unreasonable fear of robots or an irrational fear of robots. And I'm just like, these robots in this serial are literally killing people in this place. That's not an unreasonable fear, that's a very reasonable fear to have. Although, speaking of the robots, D84 is adorable. Adorable robot, yeah. I have some more notes, but I think I'm going to have to start limiting myself with what I say in these tier lists, because otherwise it's going to go on forever. It's going to take me months to edit, and it will take you forever to watch, so I think I'm just going to start limiting myself with how much I say about these serials. So let's just find a tier list for Robots of Death. I think I'm going to put it into Fantastic again, because it got a 5, and I have no issues with it. I thought it was a fun, enjoyable adventure, and I liked finding out about the robots and why they were doing what they were doing. And the fact that they sort of turned on the guy at the end because he wasn't a robot. The villain behind it all was a human raised among robots or something, and he kept calling them his brothers and stuff, but he reprogrammed them all to kill humans, forgetting that he himself was a human. And I was like, why? When are they going to turn on this bitch? And eventually they did. So I quite liked that. I think, yeah, it's good when villains get their comeuppance in these things. For this serial, I have no MVP, but I do have a no VP. So I was considering doing this for a while, but no one really stood out to me enough that made me want to kick him in the nuts. So finally, we have someone, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, so this is gonna be fun. The no VP for the serial is Ki Yuvanov. It might be Kai. I don't know. In this serial, he hits Leela with no reason to do so. So, yeah, you hit a woman, you get kicked in the groin. And he does, because Leela gets him back. We love to see it. Good on Leela. Again, Leela, best character. But yeah, Key/Kai is the no VP. He has earned the first no VP badge. The final serial of the season is The Talons of Weng-Chiang. Again, I've got a lot of notes on this one, so I'm going to try and keep it concise and just say minimal stuff. The serial got a 3 overall. I know this is, or I think this is, a fan favourite. I half see why, but also I don't. It was okay. I don't think it was any better than some other serials I've seen, so I think it's okay, and I gave it a 3. As I've said, it is considered one of the best serials, but I do think that the problematic depictions of people of colour does have to be mentioned in this. I know it's the 70s, I know that, but what I don't understand is that actual Chinese actors were used in the serial, but as much smaller parts, and they could have just hired those actors for the main Chinese character, who was played by a white guy yeah. This is the issue with watching old shows and old movies, is it may have been a different time. It doesn't mean that it was ever a right thing to do. It is problematic and it should be raised when watching these things. One thing about this is the introduction of Jago and Lightfoot. They are quite popular apparently because they've got an entire massive Big Finish range, and I don't understand why. They're not bad characters, I just don't really understand why they're so popular. I rewatched this serial knowing that they were popular. The first time I watched it, I didn't. The second time I did. And I still don't understand what it was. I was looking out for what made them so popular, and there were moments when they were together near the end of the serial which I thought, you know, that was sweet of them to look after each other and stuff. There's a moment when Professor Lightfoot is cradling Jago after the climax of the whole serial. But other than that, I don't see it. Maybe it's a comic thing. Maybe they're a comic duo. I don't know. I should try listening to some of the Big Finish audio range for them, because I don't know what it is that makes people want to have more of them. Chekhov's Janus Thorne reappears in this one. Just saying. And Leela uses it on someone and the doctor moans at her, and then she's like, well, he was going to kill you. And then he's like, oh, good for you then. It's hypocrite. I don't understand the Doctor. He's such a hypocrite, always. Now, I love a period drama, so naturally this one was good. And I think, to be honest, if this was a period drama movie, I'd enjoy it and have fun with it. But as a serial of Doctor Who, I just think it was lacking compared to other serials. So that's why I gave it the score I did. One thing though is that I like the fact that in this serial, Leela actually wears period accurate clothing. Like she doesn't wear her Savage outfit, she wears Victorian garments. And I think that looks really good. I just liked that because it felt more realistic. And I know in the next serial she does the same, for the first serial for the next season. But then it annoys me every time. She goes back to the Savage outfits because the dads at home complained that they couldn't stare at Louise Jameson. Leela is such an amazing character and she was written as a brilliant character, but she's dressed for the male gaze and I hate it. This was a children's show and they had a woman wearing normal clothing and then they were like, oh no, you've got to put scraps back on because the men at home want to look at you. The actress may have been fine with it, but I'm not. I think Leela's Savage outfits look fine for when she's on her home planet and when she's in her first adventure. But when she goes back in time to the Victorian era, I like the fact she dressed up for that. And in the next serial that she wears a normal outfit, she wears period accurate clothing again. And I liked that. It's only after that she doesn't. And I'm like, why? Let's let her wear normal clothing. That's an issue I have, but it's not even with this serial, because in this serial she's wearing a really nice Victorian outfit and blending in a little bit until she starts eating, which is a really funny scene. She starts eating this big chunk of meat just like with her hands, and then Professor Lightfoot's like, actually he offers her a knife. When he sees that, he offers her a knife and she goes, oh yeah, and she starts stabbing and she's like, it's a good knife. I'm like, she's so cute, I love her. And Professor Lightfoot, bless him, is also adorable because he then starts eating like her to make her not feel uncomfortable. Yeah. Good on Professor Lightfoot. I'm really not doing well with not saying loads of stuff here, am I? With Leela as well, I love having a companion who's not afraid to fight. Like, she is feisty and fierce and unafraid. There's a moment where she's sharpening knives and then says to the doctor, right, where are we going to lay our ambush? And she starts getting ready for battle. I just love it. I love the fact she's so ready for that every time. The doctor, I think possibly in the same scene, mentions about how Leela would have loved Agincourt. And all I can think is, why didn't he take her to a famous battle like Agincourt? Or why didn't he take her to the Vikings or the Celts or the Romans? Like, why did they never go back in time further with Leela? Because I think she's the perfect companion to take back to those sort of times to have an adventure, because she would be able to be the one to blend in and teach the Doctor some shit, you know? I think that would be quite good. So that annoyed me just a little bit that we don't get to see that with Leela ever. Although I think Big Finish did do one with the Doctor and Leela meeting Boudica, so give that a go. Okay, final thing to say is about the villain Weng Chiang, although I think his name's Magnus Grill for real. But when he takes off his mask, or when someone takes his mask off and he looks all odd, bit of a Phantom of the Opera moment, not gonna lie, I think the melted face makeup looks quite good. Time to tier list this because time is dragging and I keep talking. So I think I'm gonna put this on an upgrade in progress. It's a good serial, it's just not brilliant. And I know that rating-wise, you'd think it'd be wibbly wobbly, but I think it was good overall. I mean, there's loads of moments, like little moments in there, like Jago being hypnotised, the ROUS appearing, where's Wesley when you need him? There's a lot of good little moments in there, and the puppet trying to kill Leela, the fool. Why would you try and kill Leela of all people? She's obviously gonna win. But yeah, overall I think upgrade in progress is a good tier for it. And the MVP for the serial is Professor Lightfoot. Season stats. The most common score for any episode was a 4, and the average score of the season is a 4.15. For the quote of the season, again, there were so many quotes that I loved and wanted to use, and I can't because I need to pick one. I think I've only done 2 once, and that was just because I really couldn't decide. But I have picked one that I think is, well, you can figure it out for yourself why I picked this one. So the quote comes from The Face of Evil, Leela's first episode, and the Doctor is talking to Leela and he says, you know, the very powerful and the very stupid have one thing in common. They don't alter their views to fit the facts. They alter the facts to fit their views. Yeah, I'm sure you can figure out why I like that quote. But that is it. That is season 14 fully tier listed. And yeah, I think it looks okay. It's all quite positive this season. Everything's in the first 2 tiers really, which I think is really good for the season. And considering it's got the 4th Doctor, a fan favourite, it's got Sarah Jane, a fan favourite, and it's got Leela, my favourite. So all in all, it's a very good season. But what did you think? Did you think I've rated things too highly? Do you think that any of them should be in OOU? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you next time for season 15.